All right, we are back here. Regular season winding down in baseball, and the Yankees are on their way to the playoffs. Clinch as soon as tonight. Joining me today to break it all down, good friend of the podcast, one of the biggest Yankee authorities on Twitter, Dan Federico is here. Dan, how are you?
Mike, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me back as always.
I gotta say, Dan, since the last time we talked, I feel like things gone a wildly different direction of this team. Could you imagine 3 months ago that we went from the high of this team might beat the '98 Yankees and praise to, oh my God, they might blow the division in the span of like 2 months?
It's really interesting because on one hand, yes, I am very surprised. And, the way they played the first 2 months of the season, I don't think anybody saw this coming. But I think when you look at it as a bigger picture and you factor in, a lot of this team is holdovers from the last few years. And you see how the Yankees have been where they have had that Jekyll and Hyde where they have good stretches and bad stretches. Now, it seems like they had a really prolonged great stretch and then a really prolonged bad stretch. So that I don't think has ever really happened. But it's definitely been interesting. But fortunately for Yankee fans, it looks like they're starting to get back on that upward swing, which is exactly what you want going into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think anyone actually thought they were going to be as good as they were when they were dominating in April and May and they were going to run away with it. I don't think I thought they were as bad as they were when they were struggling in July and August here. But the question is kind of, obviously, the real Yankees somewhere in between those two extremes. What do you think the real versus team actually is that's going to head into October here? What they really going to be in terms of like as a squad, what they're going to be like?
I think that the team that you've been seeing these last few games, especially at home. I mean, I know they're getting a lot of boost from the fans. I was in the stadium the other night on Tuesday, so the fans are there. Obviously, everybody's excited for Judge, but even when you're there, it just feels like a postseason atmosphere. And I know the Yankees get that boost from them, and it seemed very obvious at the stadium that they were feeding off the crowd. The crowd was feeding off the team. And that's something that, in recent years, the Yankees have found success in the playoffs at Yankee Stadium. So I think this team that, especially we've seen this week, is something that you can look to where, okay, they're going to hit a ball out of the park, but they're also going to get some good pitching. So I think it's been a combination of both, as we've seen all year. And I think that's what's going to translate to the playoffs. Now, could they be shut down? Yes, we've seen that this year, too, where that lineup just gets shut down or a starting pitcher just doesn't have it or the bullpen doesn't have it. Anything could happen. But I think you're going to see a team not like as bad as they were after the postseason. After the All-Star break, but a team these last week or so where they're definitely looking a lot better.
Yeah, I know you said you were there Tuesday to see the game. My question is, were you? I hope you were not one of the half the stadium apparently who left before Aaron Judge hit number 60.
Mike, you follow me on Twitter. Come on, I was one of those guys. I shouted them out right away. Listen. I said I honestly felt a little disrespected that multiple people asked me if I was still there. I wouldn't leave the game if it was 30-0 Pirates, and I'm dead serious. And if I'm going to the game, I'm staying. That's just how I've always been. That's how I'll always be. It was sad to see like 30% of that stadium clear out after the bottom of the eighth, knowing that Judge had that bat coming up. So it was interesting to see that happen. I was very surprised, but no, I was there, 200 level. Watching the game, saw that home run, got it recorded on my phone. It was awesome just to be there for that moment. And then obviously it propelled them to one of the biggest comebacks of the year. So it was awesome to see in person. But no, I was definitely there. If you ever know that I'm at a Yankee game, just know I'm there until the final pitch. I'm here in New York play. So I was there.
Yeah, I say definitely one to definitely be excited about to see in person. I think it's a really cool experience. In terms of the people who are actually there, though, I mean, I get that, like, sometimes if it's, like, a situation, like, you're driving and whatnot, like, you want to get out of there, but, like, it's not as a mass transit accessible Yankee Stadium. I find it hard to believe that, like, even, like, if you just want to wait and see the at-bat, like, I understand why people just didn't do that. So, if he has the home run and he misses, great, I'm out. Like, if not, like, okay, let's walk out after he takes the at-bat. I understand what the motivation was there for a lot of these people.
Yeah, I mean, if you, last night watching the game, after he walked in that last at-bat, the stadium started to empty out, which, again, I get. But I feel like especially now, chasing history, it's like I'm not missing anything this guy does when he's standing in the batter's box. So, I was shocked in a negative way. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And, the stadium got rocking afterwards, but, yeah, the fact that it emptied out that much, it was insane to me.
Yeah, and now I think the big two big questions here coming with Aaron Judge here is, number one, like, we're recording on Thursday, it's probably going out on Thursday here, like, how crazy will this be if we're sitting here tomorrow and we're dealing with the possibility that Aaron Judge could hit the tying or record-breaking home run on Apple TV Plus.
I mean, that's I can't even think about it because no offense to the people who call those games, it hasn't been the best presentation. Hasn't had the most excitement, and you want Michael Kay to be calling the game because he's the voice of the Yankees. He's the one who's been there. Probably called how many of his home runs? 50 of his 60 home runs. 55, whatever it is. It'll be sad, but you know what? It's going to be a great moment regardless. I'm hoping they have Kay calling it somewhere. John Sterling's going to be calling it on the radio, so at least we'll always have that to look back on. But I mean, what do you think when MLB just gets? I don't want to say greedy because business is business, but when they get to these TV deals where they're having people who aren't experienced or don't know the Yankee product as much as a Michael Kay or the Yes broadcast booth calling these games, it kind of puts a damper on it. But regardless, it's still going to be a great moment for Yankees fans and for baseball.
Yeah, that would definitely be crazy whenever it does happen. I remember a couple of years on the Mets, I think, when Pete Alonso at the 53rd home run to break the Judge rookie record. I think that was it on Fox. I think the Mets sort of fans sort of had a similar deal, nowhere to the near momentum of 60.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The way fate has worked, forever for everybody, it's like that would happen. It's just it would be on Apple TV where you have probably not even half the audience, and it's just the way it'll go. But hopefully he gets to tonight and ends on a high note. Even though, like you said, it's on Fox tonight, I think. So it won't be the Yes call, but at least it'll be on a regular audience that would usually see it.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing here, I feel like, obviously, what we see this year was incredible. This is probably the all-time greatest bet on yourself season I've ever seen because you might win the Triple Crowns. Because I have a record-setting home run campaign here. I mean, I feel like with what he's done, the next contract he has started with a 3 in terms of the overall value of the contract. I feel like he's got based on a $300 million player.
I mean, all credit goes to Judge because he really took a bet on himself. And I'm not the craziest guy to talk about his injury history because I do think a lot of it's not like, he got hit by a pitch and, he got hurt in things. It's not like he had nagging injuries that just crept up. It's something that took him out for the season. So I'm never one to be like, he's an injury prone guy, right? But the fact that he bet on himself and said, you know what, I'm going in as end of the year free agent and put together one of the best seasons in Yankee history, which we all know how far back that goes. And he's just been that great. All kudos goes to him. All credit goes to him. It's been a tremendous season. I'm one of the first guys to admit, I think I also tweeted this the other day, I thought 2017 was going to be his best season, and not that he wasn't a great player. He was just that great in 2017 as a rookie. But, I mean, this year blows it out of the water. And he has to command something over $300 million over the life of the contract. The years are going to get interesting because of his age, but he bet on himself. He proved it. He's proven it. I mean, he's been great as a Yankee, and it's time to pay the piper. And I think the Yankees have to call up and give him what he wants, whether that's years. That's going to hurt at the end, probably. The money shouldn't be a factor. I feel like they should give him monetarily what he wants. I think they should go, maybe not 10 years, maybe 6 years, but still give him that $300 million, which sounds crazy, but you got to make up for it one way or another. But he's the face of the franchise for sure. As soon as he signs, if he signs, he'll be named captain. He's probably the face of baseball at this point, and he's somebody you want long term. He's going to make the Yankees money hand over fist regardless. So I think at this point, you just got to give him what he wants.
I totally agree with you right there. I mean, I know, yes, that the Giants already talk about, we have money, we can make a run at. He's a California native. You never rule the Mets out anything with how much money they have, but this is there are some guys you just can't let go. I feel like the Yankees cannot be outbid on him under any circumstances.
No, I mean, it would be, you give a home field edge to the Giants, right? Because he's from there. And, they did come out already with a couple statements. The Mets are super interesting to me, especially because, you ask around and it's not really a guarantee that Jacob deGrom goes back to the Mets, right? So they're going to have a lot of money to spend on top of the fact that Steve Cohen would spend it even if he brought back Jacob deGrom. So they're looming large, and I think they're breathing on the Yankees' necks. And that's something that I don't think Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, and the Yankees as a whole, I don't think they want the Mets to come with a Godfather offer and say, listen, he can't turn it down. So, like you said before, I think Judge wants to be a Yankee, I think. The Yankees want him back. It's a great match. I think, like I said before, they just got to give him the money and make him back.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the rest of this lineup here because obviously they've been dealing with injuries for a lot of the second half. I mean, when Matt Carpenter went down, it's really sort of the big impetus in the lineup here. But guys started to get healthier. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton is back now. Gleyber Torres is getting hot again. Rizzo should be back, getting back into form here. And DJ LeMay figures on his way back. Harrison Bader just got back. Like, what do you feel like the ideal lineup is here for the Yankees in the playoffs?
You know what's interesting is that I really liked this lineup that they put out during the Pirates series. They ran it back yesterday as well. I'm pretty sure Bader and Oswaldo Cabrera just give this team that speed, athleticism, youth, defense. They give them a lot. Granted, they may not be top flight hitters, right? But somebody like Oswaldo Cabrera been in the league a month now, and the at bats he puts together is something that I don't think you could not have in your everyday postseason lineup. He may not get hits, but he's working the count. He's seeing pitches. He's setting the table for the next guy. So I think he's a staple. And on top of everything, he's a great defender at multiple positions, right? He's been doing it all. So I think he's somebody that has to be there. Like I said before, Bader, somebody who I think pencil him right into center field. You know what you're going to get. He's a guy with postseason experience. And then you're going to get into the fact, all right, DJ LeMay who's coming back, but is he going to be fully healthy? I mean, he's been dealing with that toe for a long time, so we don't really know there. Carpenter was a big reason behind their early year success. Is there really a spot for him, though? I mean, Stanton's going to be the DH, and Carpenter was the DH. I know he played some outfield, but really he suited as DH. But if you have Judge, Bader, Cabrera, right, center, left, there's no room for him. So it's going to be interesting there. It's going to be a tight squeeze. I mean, Donaldson's somebody who has had that experience in big moments. He still could get it done at third base, so you want to keep him there. Gleyber, like you said, has been getting super hot. And it seems like they're not going to move IKF. So I think that what we're seeing is going to be that postseason lineup. And I know that's crazy with DJ coming back, and he's such a proven commodity as a Yankee. But I also think at the same time, I'm not sure, even when he does return, he's going to be fully healthy. So I like the lineup. Again, there are some upgrades. I'm not the biggest IKF fan. I think you could get more value out of playing Oswaldo Cabrera at shortstop and then getting Carpenter in the lineup with putting Stanton somewhere, figuring that out. But I do like the lineup that they've been putting out the last 2 days, and I do think that's what's going to be the lineup come playoffs.
Absolutely. Here, let's go with the bullpen too, because the bullpen I feel like is the big question mark here. Because I don't really feel like they have a sure thing at closer right now, because obviously start with Chapman, went to Holmes, they all had injuries. There's a lot of guys on the men, guys coming out here. Like, who are the guys you feel like they can trust the most in that bullpen in October?
I mean, you want to start with somebody like Jonathan Weisgall, who has come back and has been really, really good for the Yankees. I know he's had some slip-ups, but he looks like the pitcher of old that people thought could be the closer. Ron Marinaccio, I mean, he's somebody who, again, young, but he's been getting it done all season long. I mean, you can't say it's a fluke or just like a 1 month thing. He's been doing his thing for a while. Wandy Peralta, he's somebody else who has kind of gone under the radar, but had a really strong 2022 season. But you still have to, you still have Chapman, you still have to play Holmes. You have these guys still under contract, still going to be pitching in big moments. And, we saw the other night Clay Holmes didn't really have it, and he's had a real tough second half. Chapman, too, has been kind of all over the place. Those are guys you're going to have to rely on. It's going to be tough come postseason. I'm sure they'll move Herman to the bullpen. We'll see with Severino. He may move to the bullpen for the playoffs. But it's going to be interesting with the top names that you expect to rely on are the names that have really been inconsistent. And it's going to be interesting to see where they stand in the pecking order, because they're going to be used. It really just depends on where.
Yeah, for sure. And right now, I think they're in an interesting spot in the season in terms of standings wise, because they're going to clinch a playoff spot probably the next day or two at most. They probably can wrap the division up as soon as Monday when they head to Toronto, because they're the closest team right now. They're still 7 up in the loss column here. Where they are behind Houston, not casting the Astros on the home field either. So, great point maybe middle next week where these games really don't mean much for the Yankees here. So, what do you want to see out of these last 2 weeks of the regular season?
I think what you want to see out of this team is just kind of putting it all together, right? So the lineup has been hitting well. The pitching has been good, but then you see a couple of slip-ups in the bullpen. And also before, I forgot to mention Scott Efros. He's somebody who's coming back to within, I think he may be activated tonight Britton's also on the mental. Those are guys you can rely on. And just bringing that into what we're talking about now, they're guys that you want to acclimate now. So once the playoffs do come, they're, ready to go. And you want this lineup to keep going as they're going. Just stay the course and just keep doing what they're doing. Pitching too. I mean, this recent string of games has been really good for the Yankees, and I think it's something where you hope they just continue that ascent. No one thinks, I don't think at this point, that they're going to be like they were in the first half, but they're also going to be better than what they showed after the All-Star break. So you just kind of hope that they stay the course, keep playing strong, and while they may not be dominant, they're just on that upward trajectory as they head into the playoffs. And I think that's something that they've struggled with in the last few years, where sure, they've been that juggernaut team, but they haven't had the best momentum going into the postseason. And that's something that the Yankees as a front office really believe as being hot going into the playoffs is a reason why they have struggled and have been eliminated before they won. So I think as long as they enter the postseason on this upward trajectory, it should only mean good things for them.
Yeah, I agree. And right now, looks like they're going to be the 2 seed in the playoffs here. It means they'll get to buy the ALDS. It means they get either the Guardians out of the Central or one of the 3 wildcard teams. Whoever's the 6th seed, they end up beating the Guardians. There's Toronto, Tampa Bay, or Seattle here. Is there like one particular team that you feel like would be a bad matchup for the Yankees here? You would not want to see them play in that first round.
It's funny because I think when you mention, you said the Guardians, the Mariners, the Rays, even the Blue Jays, all give the Yankees have given the Yankees fits at certain points, or they have attributes that do. So, of course, the Yankees have success against the Mariners in the playoffs. It's like a running joke between them and the Twins that the Yankees just kind of beat up on them. But their pitching staff is super strong, and they have some proven players. I mean, obviously Julio Rodriguez is somebody who, is a rookie sensation. But then you look across their lineup and you look at somebody like Carlos Santana, who may not be having the best success this season, but he's a playoff guy. He's been there for a long time. Whether it was with the Guardians or other teams, he has that playoff experience. And speaking of the Guardians, they're another team who the Yankees have matched up with recently. They're consistently a playoff team. They have strong pitching, and they have really good, a really good deep lineup that has that experience. And then the Rays, the Rays, they always just, no matter who's on that roster, it's like whoever puts that uniform on, they're just ready to go and play in the postseason and show up in big moments. So no matchup is going to be easy for them. I want to say the team that I prefer them, I guess, to not see are the Rays, just because you see them so often. They know how to play against the Yankees. They find that success no matter who is playing on their roster, like I said. But none of these matchups are going to be a cakewalk. I know it's a first-round playoff series, and you expect the Yankees to get out of it, but they could match up against some very good teams. So a lot of good pitching, some good hitting. So I don't know what would be the best matchup for them.
Yeah, I think I agree with the Rays, probably the ones you don't want to see, because Toronto, I feel they haven't played the playoffs in forever, if at all. So, that's one that you could say, okay, like, they don't know what they're going to get out of them. Cleveland and Seattle say, okay, like, they haven't done it against the Yankees in a big spot. Tampa has gone into the Yankees house in the playoffs. So, we're not worried. We can beat them. They've beaten them in big spots. So, they were the one team I don't think of not be afraid of the Yankee mystique in October.
Yeah, you mentioned the Blue Jays, too, which I forgot to bring up. They're a team, they had a ton of expectations, and they really haven't met them. So I just think, in a mental capacity, I'm not sure how being in the playoffs would go. But like you said, the Rays are just, I think it's, when you see a team so often during the regular season, and you have a great manager and a great front office who just, like I said before, could just put together, it seems like every year they just got new players that could step in and do their thing. So they're just a team that you never want to see. And they just seem to be that, that shadow behind the Yankees where, the Yankees have the biggest payroll, but they kind of want to be like the Rays where they have the analytically strong front office who they can find players wherever, and they just seem to always give a fit. So, and you think of last year and the last couple of years, how the Rays have been. So, it's just, they're not a team that I ever want to match up with if I'm the Yankees, because they're that shadow that's just always hanging over the Yankees.
Yeah, my last question is this, because this year has been so wild with them. You could see scenarios where, they get hot, they win it all, they could end up flaming out in the first round here. If the latter occurs here, do you think this is the case of, we run it back again? Because I feel like that seems like they just gave Boone the contract. They can cash is tied to Boone. Do you think they just run it back, or do you feel like there's actually major change here if this team started off so hot and ends up losing the DS?
it's interesting because my gut always says, maybe time to try something new, right? But we've had these conversations. Me and you literally have had these conversations since 2018, 2019, where it's like, okay, they're supposed to win. They get far enough, they make it to the ALCS, they make it to the ALDS, whatever it is, and for one reason or another, they just come up short. So I think last offseason, even though, they went into it saying, the shortstop is a big area of need, and there were a ton of shortstops available, and they won with IKF, and they said one thing and kind of did the other. But unfortunately, I don't know if a lot of Yankee fans want to hear this, I think that, the Yankees believe that they have one of the best GMs in baseball, one of the best coaches in baseball, and it's on the players, it's not on what they're doing, right? So I think that they're going to run it back with these guys, and they'll just maybe retool one way or another. I'm not sure what they would do, right? Like in terms of, who they would replace or how they'd upgrade. That is something that I'd have to look at, once that offseason gets there. But I think based on history, which has been they keep running it back no matter what, I have to assume that they're Boone and Cashman will both be back in 2022, no matter what happens.
Absolutely, Dan. Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, if you follow you on Twitter, I'm sure they want to keep up with what you're tweeting during the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you can just follow me on Twitter, Dan J. Federico. Been slacking on the writing, just, real life kind of gets in the way of stuff like that. But I try and stay active. I keep my ear to the ground regardless whether I have a platform or not. So, yeah, just follow me on Twitter, and, hopefully soon we'll get some writing out there. And, yeah, just stay active. So, yeah, as of now, Dan J. Federico on Twitter.
All right, Dan. Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Mike. Pleasure as always.